Today I am bringing you yet another nice lick, and I thought I'd continue with this series. There does seem to be a reasonable amount of love out there for it, and if you've not seen it before, the concept is quite a simple one. I'm going to come up with what I consider to be a reasonably tasty lick. I'm going to show you how to play it, but beyond that I'm going to be talking about what's going on behind the lick. So I might touch on a bit of music theory, the harmony, talk about the note choice, scales, that kind of thing. And that way you'll understand the lick, you'll be able to use it in a real musical situation, and you'll have the ability to come up with variations of your own. So without any further ado, let me show you what the lick is like. This is a kind of rockabilly style thing, and then I'll take you through how to play it. So there we are. As I said, I'm thinking of this as a kind of rockabilly lick, but there is of course quite a big overlap between rockabilly and other related styles. Rockabilly itself is kind of a mishmash of different things, so you could use this lick or concepts taken from it in a straight country context, in blues, even in a kind of classic rock context. So this lick can kind of be whatever you want it to be. So let's get into the details of what's going on here. We are in the key of E, and really the lick that I wanted to talk to you about, the nice lick as it were, was this one. So you heard me play that at the end of my little introduction, but I thought I'd fill that out a little bit and give it a bit more context, so I came up with the stuff with the double stops before that. So I'm stretching the definition of lick here. In fact, we've got several licks or a short solo, I think, but I hope everyone is okay with that, and I'm going to show you the whole thing. So I'm kicking off like this, and the first section is played over an E chord. In fact, the whole thing is played over a kind of 1-4-5 blues in the key of E. We're starting off on the 1 chord, and I'm playing this. So I've got the open low E string just to give it a bit of harmonic context there, just playing that low root note, and then I'm playing thirds on the top 2 strings, and I'm hitting chord tones here. That's kind of a theme that's running throughout these licks. I'm starting with this shape here. It's 5 on the B and 4 on the high E, so that's the root and the third of the chord that we're playing over. So you could think of those notes as coming from the E major scale, or you might want to think in terms of chord shapes. So we've got our E chord grip here, the C form, or our E triad shape, and we're just playing the top 2 notes from that shape. And in typical rock and roll kind of style, I'm just moving that shape around a little bit. So those are my target notes, those are the chord tones, and then I'm just ducking down by 1 fret and then coming back again. So you've got kind of tension and release, I suppose. Those are the strong notes, and then we're just going outside a little bit and then coming back home again. And then I've really got a similar idea up here. So once again, double stops on the top 2 strings, once again chord tones. So I'm again thinking an E chord here, and we've got the 3rd and the 5th. So it's fret 9 on the B string and 7 on the high E string, playing those notes, and again jumping down by 1 fret and then back up again. And in between these phrases I'm just occasionally hitting the low E string again, just to give it a little bit of context, just having that root note in the background. And then we continue like this. Once again, double stops, and coming down here to 4 on the G and 3 on the B, and once again chord tones. So this time I'm thinking E7, and you could think of it in terms of that chord shape here, just playing 2 notes from that shape. It's the 5th and the flat 7, and 1 fret lower and then back up again. Then I'm coming over onto the 3rd and 4th strings with this idea. So targeting the notes in this E chord form once again. So 6 on the D, 4 on the G, that's the 3rd and the 5th, and approaching that from 1 fret below. chromatically before we hit the 4 chord, which is an A. And the lick I'm playing over the 4 chord goes like this. So mostly this is thirds, and I'm sliding into our A chord tones here, so fret 2 on 2nd and 3rd strings. Then I'm approaching this C sharp and E, so it's 6 on the G, 5 on the B, and just coming chromatically into that shape. So targeting those chord tones, targeting the 3rd and the 5th. Then I'm hitting a high A, so to think of this as a triad shape here, so 6, 5, 5. Just hitting those higher notes. Then coming back down again. I think I've got a pair of open strings in there, so open B and G, and then coming into the chord tones, so sliding from 6 and 5 to 7 and 6 on the 3rd and 4th strings, resolving to the root and 3rd. So quite a simple idea really, just hitting those chord tones but connecting them with some chromatic stuff, and it just all adds up to a nice effective phrase. Then we're back to the 1 chord. So this is some E7 stuff, so I'm thinking out of this E7 shape here, so it's kind of an A form E7. So starting on the 5th string, we've got frets 7, 9, 7, 9 and 7. I'm just playing these 2 notes, and these are the key notes which describe and bring out the flavour of this chord. We've got the flat 7 and we've got the major 3rd, so it's a D and a G sharp. Playing that low E root note, and 1 fret down and then back up again. Then I'm playing this great 9th chord shape. It's quite widely used in rock and roll and blues, and if you don't know it, we've got fret 12 on the D, and then 11, 9 and then 12. So it's an E9 chord. You've got the flat 7, that note is the 9, and then we've got the 3rd, and then the root note is on top. And I think I'm just moving that around as well. Then we've got this quite fancy lick which goes like this. So quite technical, this one, I think. And it's outlining the sound of the 5 chord going down to the 4 chord and then back to the 1. So it's the last few bars of a 12-bar blues, and it's working in the same way. We're targeting chord tones here. I'm mostly thinking in terms of chord shapes. So to start with, we've got this. So chromatically on the 3rd string, 6, 7, 8, and then over onto the top string, hitting this high B note. So going up into the chord tones of the 5 chord. This is the 3rd and this is the root. And then I'm coming back down again chromatically. And then I'm stretching up for this note here. This is an A note at the 10th fret on the B string. This is the flat 7. And the way I'm articulating this, I'm throwing in some hammer-ons just to make it flow and make it a bit smoother. So here I've got pick, pick, hammer, pick, 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 and pull off. And I should say that all of this has got a swing to it as well. Da, da, do, da, da, da. So that's our 5 chord lick. Then really I'm doing the same thing 2 frets lower to fit the 4 chord. So the same thing, going up to the 3rd, this time with the 4 chord. There's the root, back down, and then hitting that flat 7. And and then going to the 1 chord, and I'm approaching the 3rd of that chord, so going up from the 4th fret, 4, 5, 6 on the D string, hitting the 3rd, skipping over to the root, and then we just got a lick to resolve things. So we're coming down from that root note, and then we're targeting the 3rd, and we've got an enclosure here. We're encircling or targeting this chord tone. So this G sharp is the 3rd of the E chord, and we're playing 1 fret above, 1 fret below. That chord tone is our target. I think usually called an enclosure. It's a device you find quite often in jazz, but you get it in rock and roll and rockabilly as well. So enclosing that note, and then just some simple pentatonic stuff to finish things off. You could take a chord on the end if you wanted to. I'm just playing an E9 there. So all of that phrase together from 5 chord we've got. So actually quite technical, that phrase, particularly at speed, and you've got these quite big stretches in there as well. I'm having to use my little finger, which I don't do that much, but in certain phrases it's essential that you're able to do that. And if you are really struggling with that stretch, you could actually always leave that note out, I think. So instead of playing that note with a stretch, I'm just leaving a rest there. And I actually think that sounds pretty good. It might even sound better than the original lick. It's got a little bit more rhythm to it, and it just breaks up the flow of 8th notes. So try it both ways and see what you prefer. Let me put all of that together for you then. So there we go. You can learn all of that note for note if you like, or you can just learn portions of it. As I said, we've got 4 or 5 different licks and ideas in there. You could take just one of those and try working it into your playing. And I hope what you get out of this is an understanding of what's going on in terms of the theory, the chord tones, how these ideas relate to the underlying harmony. And then I hope you'll be able to come up with your own variations on this kind of thing and be a bit more original with it. Let me talk you through the gear that I'm using today. Guitar is my Fender Telecaster 52 reissue from 1990 something, I think the early 1990s. And amp wise today I'm using the Kemper Profiler. I spoke about this a few weeks ago, and I'm very much enjoying the convenience of it really. For a video like this, I'm able just to plug in and get a usable, I think very good sound up in about 30 seconds, and that's compared with often in these videos spending an hour or more with different amps and pedals and microphones and all the rest of it, and that can be quite a prolonged process sometimes. And sometimes it's worth going through all of that. For certain types of recording, if I'm doing some serious recording, I'll still always use a real amp, but for today's video it's nice to have the convenience of the Kemper. And the profile that I'm using today is something called 57 Deluxe 2, which I'm assuming is a profile of a 57 Fender Deluxe. And I bought this profile. I think the consensus in internet land is that someone called Michael Britt is the dude to go to get decent Kemper profiles, so I thought I'd buy a few of his profiles, and sure enough they're all pretty excellent. And this one seems to work well for this kind of rock and roll rockabilly stuff. I did tweak the profile slightly. I think I took off the effects. There was a compressor and reverb in there which I switched off, and I just changed the EQ slightly. The reverb you're hearing in this video is actually coming from my computer. I prefer to do it there when I've got a little bit more control over it. And I think at the start of this video when I played through, I did have some Rockabilly-style slapback delay, but that was actually coming from a pedal. That was the Belle Epoque Deluxe from Catlin Bread. So there we go. I hope some of you enjoy learning this one. As usual, tab is going to be up on my Patreon page. I'll put a PDF up there as well as the Guitar Pro file for those of you who use that bit of software. And there are plenty more licks where this one came from. I think this is now nice lick 18 or 19. So if you want to look at some of the others, then just do a search on my channel. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.